Welcome back, everyone, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Kevin Horde here.
Lorenzo fine over here.
How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, man.
Got another beautiful week of the Clone Wars.
Yes.
This is
continuing on. Yep.
Yeah, part 3 of 4 of our Umbara arc. You got anything you want to bring up before we hop into this thing?
No, just that we really like the last two, so hopefully it carries on with this episode, yeah?
Yeah, we made I think we made some predictions at the end of last week, so we'll see how that goes. So.
Predictions, and also I think I just threw out a lot of hopes more than predictions. So.
Yeah, you definitely had some, I really wish this would happen.
Yeah.
Not sure if I'm
a lot
gonna
of
see
mutinies.
It. So
mostly mutinies. The hope of mutiny, but
yeah, with a plan of dissent, definitely implies a mutiny. So let's hop into this thing and see how it goes. Fortune cookie this week. Oh, sorry. Let's see. What are we doing? This is season 4, episode 9, productions 4-1. This was released on the magical date of 11/11/11.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the 79th episode of the Clone Wars that we are covering. Written by Matt Michnovitz and directed by Kyle Dunleavy. I think Matt, Mr. Michnovitz, wrote all 4 of these.
Yes.
So, so far he's written the first 3. So I guess we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll have to find out next week. Come back next week. See if Matt comes back as well. But anyway, fortune cookie this week is the wise man leads, the strong man follows.
This was another weird one. Last week we had trouble trying to decide too.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's weird too, honestly. I understand the sentiment, but it's still
like a mishmash.
Yeah, it's a weird mishmash. So like the final what should I say? The final point that it's trying to get across, it's hard to pin on somebody, right? Because I feel like Anakin would be of the sort that thinks it takes both a wise and strong man to lead, right? So for him to like separate wise and strong in this capacity is like, it doesn't feel right, you know?
Yeah, this one's got a whole bunch of different feelings for me. Like, you know, Obi-Wan said, who's the bigger fool, the fool or the fool who follows? So it's like, in that aspect, I'm thinking like, okay, Obi-Wan would definitely be like, you know, the wise man is the leader and the strong man is the follower. But like the second half doesn't fit Obi-Wan. And then I was thinking Qui-Gon, and I always immediately like, think, you know, does this fit something that Yoda would say? I don't think either of those are right either.
No, yeah.
Maybe this could be Ahsoka, like down the line, like post Clone Wars. You know, talking to maybe a younger person who may or may not need some guidance in the Force, and kind of pulling back from her. From all the experiences that she had with Anakin, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Ahsoka here.
Yeah, I'll go with that too, just because I have no argument against it, and I have no better pick myself.
Having seen this episode, it doesn't really seem to fit any particular theme within Plan of Dissent. And secondly, I guess first question of the day, first question of the night: is it true? Is the wise man the one to lead and the strong man the one to follow?
I don't personally think so. I know what it means. Like it takes a strong person to follow another leader as well, to back them up, I guess. Or that's how I'm interpreting it.
Because I was thinking more like physical strength, not like strength of fortitude,
like emotionality. Either way, it doesn't cut right to me. This is not a moral I understand.
Yeah, I don't necessarily
as well as the other ones.
I don't necessarily agree with it. So
yeah,
Maybe we can come back to that later, should we choose to, but let's move on to the newsreel for this week. It starts with the word invasion, which is something we talked about last week, that this is a legit just invasion by the Republic on the planet Umbara, because Umbara decided not to side with the Republic, but they sided with the Separatists. So the Republic's like, well, fuck you, we want your planet anyway, and we're just going to come and take it.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks for the Umbarans, man.
Yeah.
But then I guess people, some people would say, hey, they joined the quote-unquote bad guys, so they should have seen it coming.
Right. But otherwise, the newsreel basically just recaps the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Fairly quickly.
The only thing that stuck out to me was basically that the second half of the newsreel is essentially that despite General Krell's efforts and dangerous tactics and his inability to, I guess, lead his guys, basically, despite all efforts to the contrary, they're actually succeeding so far. Or I guess they're succeeding in not in spite of him, but you know what I'm saying here? You know what I'm trying to say?
No, I have no idea, actually. What are you saying?
That our clone buddies are succeeding despite the leadership of Krell, because everything that Krell is doing, if they would have actually followed his plan of action or plan of attack, they would not be on the winning end of anything right now.
Okay.
That's what I got
you like
out of
that
it.
the newsreel points out that General Krell is kind of a dumbass too, or?
Yeah, so yes. I'll just put it as yes.
Okay.
The last couple of weeks I've been thinking that Krell has been making these decisions because he's a dick and he hates the clones. And the newsreel essentially points out that despite the way that Krell is trying to do things, the clones are actually still succeeding, right?
Right. Like, the clones are just that good that even with a shitty plan...
Right. Even with
they'll pull through.
Flawed plan,
right?
They're able to push through it and come out successful-ish on the other side.
Yes.
So
basically, they have captured the air base from the previous episode.
Yeah.
Once we get into the episode proper, we start with a conversation attempting to contact Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Yeah. Krell's walking around with, I think, Rex, and somebody's like, yo, Kenobi's calling you, and he's like, okay, I'll take it up in my tower. And then Rex walks over and is talking to Fives, who's like working on one of the fighters that they used at the end of the last episode. Then we cut up to the tower, and we get the Obi-Wan Skype call, which is totally like Minecrafty pixelated.
Right.
Is this because like the signal's not coming through clear? It was a cool effect. It looked great.
I think he's using like a different holo platform to call. That was the only thing I could figure out, because I had questions about this too.
Right.
Because it looks like he's using some sort of like just different program that uses blocks to create imagery rather than just it's like a low pixel form of a holo call, right?
Right.
So at first I was attributing it to maybe the fact that we get some information that the Umbarans are interfering with the reception, I guess.
Right. They're jamming our signals. They're jamming
the signals. Yeah. But then later he uses the same holo platform to look at the battlefield, and it still shows up as these like blocky figures. So I think it's just the style of the holo program itself, the hardware itself.
Yeah, I think it was meant to imply that there was like some interference going on, and despite the fact that there is a couple moments of dialogue specifically talking about interference, it just comes up as visually this looks different than normal.
Right. Because even the way like Kenobi's figure comes together, the blocks like slowly build bottom up, right? Which is interesting. Like you see the blocks moving into position to create a sort of facsimile of Kenobi,
right?
Which is a lot different. Whereas, in any other form of signal jamming, we still get like the staticky disruption,
right? Like an old tube TV.
Yeah, an old tube TV style, or we get Palpatine's image like wigging out, and it gets all super wavy,
Yep.
So, yeah, it's
like old VCR style.
Right. Yes. So all I got was that this was just a completely different style of thing.
Yeah.
Despite,
I thought it looked really cool. It just kind of lacked any reason.
Oh yeah, there's zero motivation for this weird new style of holocall for sure.
But out of the holocall, we get a little bit of info, and essentially Obi-Wan is still fighting a good fight wherever he is. Cross planet or whatnot, and the problem is that the reason they haven't been able to take the capital yet is because there's apparently like a supply ship in orbit that just continues sending reinforcements and whatnot. So they're fighting essentially an endless battle, and I think he asks for support. He doesn't really say, like, hey, I need you guys to come help me like he did last week. But I guess he gets cut off, so I'm not really sure. Maybe that was the point of his deal. But he's just kind of giving Krell an update on what's going on in his battle. The transmission has ended prematurely. Rex says that they need to go and destroy the supply ship, and then they can help out Obi-Wan. And Krell doesn't like this idea. Right?
Nope. Definitely not.
He just wants to march over to the Capitol and continue doing what they've been doing, is line up and just let the guys in front get shot first and see how long their dudes can keep on marching. He gives the order that's a 12 hours, be ready to go. We're shipping out here. We're taking off. At this point, Rex is like, don't you think we should call Obi-Wan and like coordinate our attacks? And Krell is like, nope, it's not how we're doing it. We're just gonna march in there. Like, worked so far, why not keep on going? So then we cut over to a group of clones. This is kind of the core group that we've got for the rest of the episode, and it's basically Rex, Fives, Dogma, Hard Case, a clone named Jesse, which took me quite a while to figure out what his name is. And then another guy that I never caught his name, the dude with the man bun. I don't know. We'll just call him Man Bun because he's a clone trooper that's got a man bun. And I didn't catch his name at all throughout the entire episode.
Not at all. No, you've named everybody I have. So.
Yeah, and during this little like pre-mission, not even briefing, just like discussion, Dogma is totally sticking up for Krell. Like, he's the commander, he knows what he's doing, yada yada yada. And they have basically the same conversation that they've been having for the past 2 weeks worth of this show, and it's that one person will point out that he seems to hate the clones and not that he's got zero regard for their safety, their success, their lives in general, and just treats them like droids, and how that's not right. And they're marching into a death trap because one of the things that Obi-Wan said is that they have like ballistic missiles that are coming in. So they're not even fighting like troops. Like, they get to a place and then it's just like, pew, missile comes in and like blows the shit out of them. So you can't fight that type of enemy. You can't fight an aerial assault when...
Yeah, not on foot.
Right, not on foot.
Blasters. Yeah.
So then Five says, we need to go take out this ship. Like, take out the supply ship. That's what we need to do, and we can use the fighters. And I guess they cracked the code or something. I don't know. They were able to fly them last week. Hard case and Fives, maybe.
Fives, yeah.
I think is who did it. And but I guess there was some type of security system or something. Maybe, I don't know. The only thing they say is, oh, you were able to crack the code? Like, great. So they were able to break the programming or something so that they're able to use it for what they want to use it for. Right. There was something prohibiting them from doing that, even though they just did it.
Right. It seems like they have more, too, in the hangar.
Well, they took...
At least later.
Yeah, well, what happened is, like, Fives and Hardcase snuck in, took 2, and then came and blew up the big spider tank things.
Right.
And then they went... That enabled them to take the air base. So
Go
they
back and
have
just take the whole
all
thing.
of... Yeah,
right.
They've got the entire air base at this point.
Right. So maybe there's, like, a code with, like, the rest of them, or just, like, a broadband...
Yeah, I don't
thing
know.
to get them connected. Yeah, I got nothing.
It's something. I don't know what it is though. But so of course the next thing to happen is that Rex goes to Krell to suggest that Krell amend his plan and say, "Hey, my guys figured the things out, so let's fly up there and take out the supply ship. Like, now we have the means to do it." And Krell blows him off, and he's like, "Oh, your guys aren't pilots. Like, those things are dangerous. We're not doing that. We're sticking to my plan. Like, your plan sucks. My plan's good. I'm in charge. You're not in charge. So let's just do what I want, and it's okay if you guys die. I really don't mind." His final rebuttal is essentially, we can't risk wasting clones on your little stupid mission, which would literally be 3 people, as opposed to lining up in a line of like hundreds, and maybe some of you will make it through.
Yeah, literally just getting bombed on. I think he calls it frivolous adventures.
Yes.
Which is even more demeaning, I think. Yeah, this whole exchange is just... It's purposefully annoying, but it comes through. But I will say, so far throughout this episode, especially in regards to all the various clones, I still have trouble always separating which clone is which between when there's like large dialogue scenes between more than 2 clones.
You got to look at the tattoos and the haircuts, man.
Tattoos and haircuts, but all the same, they just kind of all blend together.
Right.
That said, I still was not able to tell them apart, but I will say I appreciated the CG acting that occurred, the animation that occurred here. I think maybe like a season ago, I started commenting that we had like a good turnaround when I started Ahsoka's face becoming more fluid and not so wood block puppety.
Right.
And that definitely continues here, and it shows off. Even if I wasn't able to directly name who is who, I at least got a good sense of different personalities in the room, despite them having all the same face. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense, and that's about the best compliment that you've given the show in a while.
For sure, yeah.
So after Rex's plan gets shot down again, there's like an announcement that long range missiles are coming in or something. You can see him like erupt something off in the distance.
This is when we get another look at the hollow thing. He sees it on the hollow thing first, so we see a bunch of like red blocks coagulate together to emulate what's happening outside, and then Krell literally just turns around. He's like, "Well, I guess I'll just take a look at the real thing," and then we see it blow up outside. Right.
Yeah. So Rex has to go and break the bad news to all his buddies, and Fives is like, "Fuck that! I'm like, let's just do it anyway," you know. Dogma interrupts, and he's like, "No, you can't. Like, that's going against the orders of the general. That's a no-no. Like, you'll get kicked out of the military or whatever. And Fives is like, I don't really give a shit. Like, this is the right thing to do. This is the smart thing to do, as opposed to, just taking a death march. Like, you'd rather just stand in the line, wait to be shot, than actually do something to, like, try to protect your brothers. So Rex and Fives basically discuss the difference between taking orders and understanding when what you're told is the right thing to do. They have the debate on honor versus doing what you're told, right?
Right.
And then I think Fives brings up we're men, not numbers. Krell doesn't care about us. To him, we're just a bunch of numbers. We might as well be droids, but we're living, breathing things. We're men, and I'm going to do what I can to save as many men as possible. And Rex goes along with him, or goes along with the idea. He says something to the effect of, I can't authorize it for you, but I'm also not going to stand in your way. So then we have a little section of Fives and Hardcase doing some test flights in the hangar. Of course, it doesn't go completely smoothly, and some alarms go off. Pong's told about it. He calls down to the hangar. We have not the best homage to the Han Solo in the brig.
A New Hope.
Right, in A New Hope. That's what they were aiming for, but I think they failed a little bit.
They changed the dialogue enough where it didn't flow as nice. It's something, I agree with you. They're definitely homaging to it, but because they're switching the dialogue a little bit to fit this situation, it doesn't come off nearly as playfully funny as it does the first go around with Han.
And honestly, like, when Pong finally gets down there, because there's like blaster fire going off when Pong's talking to Fives, and then Hardcase accidentally fires a missile, and it like blows up the fucking hangar door. Right. And then Pong gets down there, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? And Hardcase is like, oh, we had a weapons malfunction. Like, they could have just used that line,
right,
in the interaction between Pong and Fives. Like, it could have been a direct homage. Like they could have just quoted the thing, and it would have been fine. And it worked. Like, the original dialogue almost worked better in the scene than what they replaced it with.
Right.
So
yeah,
it just really stood out to me. I'm like, oh, you're going to try to do the thing, but you're going to change it, and like the original wording just made more sense anyway.
I think this was a case of like they didn't want to use the exact wording because that's just way too convenient to be said twice in the same universe. You know what I mean? Like, it's too coincidental.
They do it all the time, though, man.
I know they do it all the time, but
like in that episode with me and Sig Neutron and Ralph from Cake Boss, C-3PO is like dropping quotes from C-3PO throughout the entire episode.
Right. But again, for a clone to say something that Han would say later is, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree.
Maybe Han heard about it when he was in the Imperial Academy.
Nah,
He got the idea from a story that was told about the mutiny on Umbara. Just saying.
No, I get what you're saying. If
I guess I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it, because otherwise it's distracting.
I get that they're going for it, and that's fine. And I also agree that they have to change the dialogue and say something else, But yeah, they should have spent maybe 10 more minutes working on this.
I'm not saying that he has to do like the whole "we're fine, we're all fine here now. How are you?" You know, but like slight weapons malfunction, give us a little bit of time to lock it down. Would have been fine. And then
I guess
Krell would have been like, "Oh, that's bullshit," and walk down there and basically have the same thing because he's like, "Hard case, what happened?" And Hard case is like, "Oh, we had a weapons malfunction." He's like, "Oh, is that what happened? CT 5555." And he's like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay, I don't believe you. But anyway, you just proved my point. These things are dangerous. Lock these down. Nobody fly them again. Everybody out of here."
I guess, yeah. Yeah, sure. Sure.
So yeah, Pong uses that as proof. He storms off, and then Fives is talking to, I don't know if Rex is there or not, but it's Fives, and then Hard Case and Jesse are the three troopers that are in there, and they're like, "Well, how are we going to do this?" And he brings up a story that Anakin had told him, which is from the Phantom Menace, like, when my general was a little kid, he just flew into one of these things and he said, "Shoot the main reactor."
Yep.
Which
you take it out from the inside.
Right. Which in and of itself is a reference to A New Hope. Like the first line of dialogue in A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, they can do it. They can do it. They can do the direct references. The three of them are like out walking around or something, and Rex is on guard, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And this is when Rex is like, "Oh, we're gonna do the thing, man. Like, we figured it out." And Rex is like, "I hope it works out for you. I'm gonna look the other way. Don't worry about me."
Yep.
My question here is, all of a sudden, all the guys have like the binoculars that fit like over their helmet, and they can like pull down in front of their viewfinder.
Mm-hmm.
So the T-visor itself is not just like a tinted thing. There's like a heads-up display on the inside.
Uh-huh.
So why do they need an external other set of binoculars that I'm assuming in this instance are for night vision? But
that's what I thought they were for too.
But this planet is described as perpetually in darkness. Like, I guess there's no sun. So one, they would always need them. Two, the Jedi would be freezing balls cold all the time because they're not in any type of environmental suit. And three, these things like pop up and disappear like scene to scene.
Right. Yeah, they're not consistent, and I got nothing for you there too. I noticed that as well, that they kind of come and go.
Yeah, because they didn't have them in the hangar, which I guess makes sense because there's artificial light. But we've seen these things before where they like flip up like Catwoman's weird goggles in The Dark Knight
Rises.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't have them in the hangar, and then they're outside walking around, and they do have them, and then it's like cut to next scene, and they're still outside walking around, and then they don't have them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I got nothing for you.
These little things drive me crazy.
Yeah.
They head over and they steal some ships. Not ships that were inside the hangar. These are 3 ships that were outside the hangar. At this point, we cut to Dogma, who's sleeping. We just hear, it's just like a barrack scene, and we hear some snoring. Like, you see an empty bunk, and then we pan up, and you see Dogma. He's snoring. He wakes up, notices that there's some empty bunks next to him. Then he rolls over, and he starts talking to Man Bun. Tear tattoo under his right eye. Like,
yeah.
This is the guy, I don't know what his name was. Man Bun it is.
Yeah, he's never named, but it looks like Wikipedia is naming him Tup.
Oh, that is Tup?
T-U-P, yeah.
Okay. So Tup is definitely named later in the episode?
Is he?
Might be next week.
I missed that.
I do remember hearing the name Tup, but I don't remember when it was. So Man Bun is Tup. That's cool. But he basically...
So Dogma is talking to him?
Yeah, yep. Dogma basically guilts him into telling him what's going on.
Yeah, he's like, it's the right thing to do. Like, we have to follow the rules.
Right.
Follow the rules.
If we don't and you knew something, then we're both complicit and we'll be court-martialed. I don't know why Dogma would be, like, in on this. Because, like, he legit didn't know.
Right.
So we cut back to outside, and you see the ships taking off. Is it at this point? You see the ships taking off. They head up, and there's a giant ass air battle going on. Like,
yes, a huge air battle.
Right,
and
like
there's
beginning
a lot
of
going
Revenge
on.
of the Sith size aerial battle.
Like, it's really weird too, because this one's like super visually interesting because there's stars, there's clouds, there's a lot of fucking debris, there's a lot of ships moving around. Like, this is like the most dense aerial battle we've seen in a while, even though the battle itself is not actually consequential to the story.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, it's the stage for it, but it's really weird that they put a lot of effort, it seems, in this one aerial battle,
right,
versus other ones.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's pretty complex. There's a lot of shit going on, and our trio for this week is a little bit apprehensive, and they do have some banter back and forth until, like, they break through the clouds and they see this fucking aerial melee. And then they're like, I don't know if this is going to work. Maybe this wasn't a good idea. They're able to kind of fly through it unscathed because the bad guys think they're on their side and the good guys are too busy fighting the overwhelming number of bad guys.
Yes, yeah.
So at some point in time, we do cut back to Krell. He's interrogating Rex. Rex says that he authorized the use of the fighters, but for, like, reconnaissance on Krell's mission. So he tries to kind of, like, put it back on Krell. Us knowing Krell should have been like, no, I fucking told you, nobody's using these things. Like, Krell, from what I know of Krell wouldn't back down, right? He would have,
like, every little detail that Krell puts in motion needs to be followed.
Right.
And yeah, because Krell at most is like, you authorize these without my permission? Like
I straight up told you no.
Yeah.
Like,
but
twice.
Then Rex, yeah.
And then
Rex, like, gives the reasoning, and then Krell is like, well, I guess that makes sense.
Right.
It's like, oh okay. Like,
so
I guess.
Why didn't you just take that plan to him to begin with and then just have him go and do the other thing anyway? Which is totally something that Anakin would have done. Like, if Obi-Wan was like, don't use those starships to go and destroy the supply ship, use them to go and do this thing. Anakin would be like, okay, and then he'd just, like, blow it up on the way and be like, you didn't tell me I had to go directly there, man.
Right.
Like, that's been a plot line in an episode before. Surprisingly, Krell just kind of lets it slide, I guess. And then, I don't know, he's pissed and he just, like, storms back to his tower. Rex is still on guard duty or something outside of the tower.
Well, he's just walking back or something like that.
Well, why has he been on, like, patrol outside? Because that's when he saw Fives and the other two dudes. And then this time, Dogma and Tup are, like, approaching. He's like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we just wanted to go and talk to General Krell. And he's like, oh, yeah, about what? Do you think he knows what they were going to do?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So he just puts the kibosh on it. It's not like he's, I don't know, just, you know, Krell's like, hey, keep everybody away from me. I need to go investigate my
no, yeah.
forearms.
This is all in Captain Rex because Dogma and, like, for Dogma and Tup to also bypass Rex is also, to me, like, there's a certain chain of command that needs to be followed, right? So then for Dogma and Tup to want to go straight to Krell, I think Rex knows something is up with those two, right?
But does he know exactly what's going on? Like, he knows that they're going to be like, yo, the dude's already, like, fives
like
and...
they took the thing to go do something else.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think Rex, if not explicitly, he has some feeling towards that.
Okay. From here, we cut into mid-secret mission. We got some ships flying inside another ship, and then we've got some droid humor where this droid's like, all right, break's over, get back to work, and then gets taken out by the wing of one of the ships that's flying. Yep. Some droids call up to their tactical droid commander saying that there's clones in the ship, and he says that's impossible. The chances are 10,003 to 1. And they knew they were clones because they saw them when they were flying by. You can see in the little green bubble deal. So they're headed towards the fucking... What are they doing?
The main reactor.
Yeah.
They're getting towards the main reactor.
Yeah.
They're gonna blow up the main reactor. So they're heading that way, and then the battle droids finally get their shit together, and then they sound some alarms, and they put some ray shields up on the reactors. So then the clones need to stop. They get turned around. They stop right in front of the ray shields. They gotta turn around and start shooting at the droids, which are shooting at them.
Yeah.
And the droids are apparently shooting well enough with just regular blasters at these ships that one of the clones, I'm not sure which, again, is concerned about the shields on the ships.
I think that's Jesse.
Yeah, he's like, the shields are taking a beating. And at some point, too, who is it? Shoots a missile, and then it like some debris hits back on his ship as well. So then his hard case, his ship is smoking a little bit. So then, while they're trapped in this little corner, hard case makes a decision to just detach the missile pod.
Yep.
From his fighter. He like gets out of his ship. The other two keep shooting at the droids, and Hardcase just drags the missile pod and floats it through like a door in a hallway.
Yeah, so apparently the ray shields just protect like the big garage door, but not like the man door that goes like through the wall.
Nope,
so he just pushes it through there, and he's able to do the thing where he blows up the main reactor. A couple of questions before the explosion and the escape run. Ray shields stop missile projectiles,
I guess.
Why aren't all shields made out of ray shields then?
Is it a power thing? I have no idea.
I have no idea either, but it's...
I mean, when it comes to ray shields, too, there have always been weird usages of the ray shields that I've never understood. Like in Phantom Menace, why is there a cascading series of doors that turn on and off? Why are they turning on and off?
So those aren't ray shields. That's something else.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. And it has something to do with like the geothermal radiation or something coming out of the hole. It's explained in the novelization, but I don't remember what the reasoning is because it's been a long time since I've read it. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. But yeah, I got nothing on the ray shields. But yeah, they seem to stop these missiles for sure, which is interesting to me because the missiles on these ship previously seemed fairly destructive. Like, they're not explosive, but they have like a weird
like disintegration thing.
Yes, they're like acidic, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's not really like a proton torpedo,
right?
Which is like a space torpedo. It's more like a sparkly ball of energy,
Yes.
but they call them torpedoes or missiles or something. Um, yeah, so I didn't really understand how all that worked. Maybe they're not actually like a physical projectile, and that's why the ray shield works on it.
Yeah, I feel like they're probably some sort of like ball of energy that's just getting absorbed by the ray shield.
Right, because ever since Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin just does like a barrel roll and then like shoots the thing that is projecting the shield on the outside of the door, like I feel like that should just be the next move. It'll slow you down, but it doesn't slow you down that much. I do like that hard case is like, fuck it, dude, I'm just using the door. Like, I'm going to take the stairs instead of the elevator, and just pushes the thing in there, and whammo. Jesse's like, hey, man, if I know hard case, like, he's serious. We got to get the fuck out of here. So hard case does sacrifice his life for his brothers, and his last words that maybe nobody's able to hear because he's by himself on the other side of a ray shield are live to die another day.
Yep.
And so Fives and Jesse are able to GTFO, and they get out. There's some flames chasing them or whatnot. They make it down to planet. They land on the planet. Rex sees the explosion happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking up, sees it happen, smiles. Our pilots return like immediately. They're summoned by Krell up to his office. When they get there, it's Rex, Fives, Jesse, and Rex tries to take the fall. Like, hey, they did this under my command. It was. He doesn't say it was his idea, but he says it was his authorization. Like, it was his command to go and do this thing. Fives owns up to it, and he's like, no, don't take the fall for me. It was my idea. I'm the one that organized this. And poor old Jesse went along with me. This really pisses off Krell. He just completely disregards anything that Rex said. But he says, so not only did you disobey me, but then you come in here and you try to tell me who I should discipline and how I should discipline them. So he's super mad, and he's like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get arrested, you're going to get court-martialed, then you're going to get executed. Don't fuck with me, because otherwise you pay the price. Ira saying cue loud music, that's the end of it.
Basically, yeah. Yep.
Um,
I just like the idea that after blowing up a supply ship, Krell is like, treason! Absolute treason!
You didn't do what I wanted you to. I
Thus
told you not to do the thing, and you did it anyway, and that's treasonous.
Yes. Yeah. But, yeah. So, yeah. Just continuing on with the madness of Krell. So,
yeah, this just leads me to more questions about being court-martialed and whether or not clones can leave the army and what happens to them at that point. Because he says...
I'm not going to lie. Like, go ahead.
He says you'll be court-martialed and then you'll be executed.
Yes.
So, it's like...
But if the clones win the court-martial, what does that mean? Like, are they just reinstated? Like,
I don't think that I don't think that there's an option to win a court-martial. According to Krell, it's court-martialed, then executed.
And out. I'm not going to lie. I would love, like, a series of episodes, like a Law and Order style arc that just shows me going through that.
Okay.
Like, Law and Order / A Few Good Men style, like, series of just, like, a bunch of clones sitting in, like, the audience, a couple of Jedis hanging around.
So do you think that there would be... Is there... Like, there's no jury during a court-martial, right? I don't
believe so.
Court-martials work.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know how court-martials work either. But all the same, I would love to see, like, Obi-Wan sitting in the fucking like witness box, right?
Right.
And then like just a series of various clones in that witness box, and we have to try and keep all this information straight, you know?
I want to see Obi-Wan in the witness box in this Minecraft pixelated
oh gosh, yeah.
Skype call that we had this episode, and then all the clones need to be like, oh, I gotta clean myself up, so they're all like clean shaven and shit, and you literally can't tell them apart.
Yes.
And I guess they would all have to go by like CT 5555 and CT 5227 and
right. Yeah.
Which technically Fives isn't a CT anymore. He's an ARC trooper. So his designation should change from CT to whatever an ARC trooper's.
Yeah.
AT, probably. ARC trooper as opposed to clone trooper.
But yeah, no, that's an arc I would love to see. But
so sticking with the court martial theme, why don't you give this one a judgment, man?
I like this one. I like this one a lot.
Thumbs up?
Yes, thumbs up. Even the dialogue heavy nature of especially the first half of the episode, because the dialogue was still so character driven and there was a lot of debate back and forth, a lot of that was still very engaging to me.
I will agree with you on that.
Yeah. And dialogue like that seems to, in the first couple of seasons for sure, like the show always found like a weird excuse to just try and throw in action. But finally we have some writing that's not afraid to just let a lot of clones talk it out for a long period of time. Like, I would say like the most thrilling section in the front end of this episode, we don't start with a big battle in this episode like we did the previous two, but really like what the first action scene is when one of those fighters starts going like haywire because the clone is trying to figure out how to fight it or fly it.
Yeah, if you want to call that an action scene.
Right. Like, yeah. So otherwise, it's a really dialogue heavy.
It's the jump into the giant air battle.
Right, exactly. So I like the script actually works here. Like there's a good script behind the dialogue. Right.
Yeah, I will totally agree with you. First of all, thumbs up as well. And then secondly, I think that I like the dialogue bits in this show more than the action bits. That's not to say that I dislike them, but like the first two episodes of the Umbara arc were, like 6-7 solid minutes of really cool, well choreographed, well shot, well edited fight scenes, be it blaster to blaster or other. And while I enjoy those and they're visually interesting, I am more interested in the pauses between the action to know what the people are doing.
Yeah,
and then sprinkle in bits of heroic and bits of action and bits of bombastic lightsabers or blasters or other, but that's the stuff that I like. So I think I really like this one more than the first two, but it's a solid thumbs up for me. There are some bits that get a little repetitive with Rex like being this go-between, like, oh, we should do this, and Krell's like, no, and then he talks to the guys and they're like, I think we should do it anyway. He's like, okay, let me talk to him again. No. And then, like that back and forth could have been condensed down probably, and
right.
You could have given this episode a little more time to breathe elsewhere. But that's the only critique that I have.
Yeah. This one overall I definitely like. I think I still like the previous episode the best so far out of these three.
So you would rank it last week's episode, then this one, and then the first one?
Between this one and the first one, they're pretty even ground to me, honestly. Okay. Like I do like that in this episode to your point, we do start seeing like the different characters. Even though I still can't, if you just had them in a lineup, like I'm pretty sure Rex is the only one I could point out. But once we get into the dialogue and the action and what they're doing, I know who Dogma is as a person. That's for sure, right?
Mm-hmm. He's the one with the like Y-shaped tattoo that goes over his eye and his nose.
That goes like down. Yeah, it's like that's I started figuring that one out. But I definitely think with all 3 episodes, they've definitely cleaned up both the action and not having it be too frivolous, and having dialogue that does support that. I think, to your point, I like the way the action's been handled in the previous 2 episodes for sure.
Yep.
I think I would be curious if we got like a full Saving Private Ryan sort of like opening, but for an entire episode. Like I'd be really curious to see if they would tackle like an entire episode that just shows one full battle and maybe like minimal dialogue throughout. I think just visually that would be interesting. So I think both are needed under certain contexts, but like for this episode, being more dialogue heavy, I think, like I said, I think they did a good job here with the script.
Yeah.
I was just as interested in that stuff as I was last week. I think the visual stuff pulls me in a lot more than it does you probably. I don't always need like the in-betweens to kind of explain what's going on, as long as I can just kind of understand the overall picture.
Yeah.
They'll pull me in pretty well. But yeah, no, I think this is a darn strong arc that we've got going on here, and I'm still hoping for that full-blown mutiny here. So
there's hints of it.
Yeah.
There's hints of it this week, and moving forward to what we got coming next week is the carnage of Krell. So maybe you'll get your wish. I don't know if the carnage comes from Krell is of Krell. Does that make sense? I don't know which way that goes. But
like if the carnage is of Krell's infliction, or
is he receiving, or is he not receiving? Giving?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Does he give or does he receive? That is the big question of the week. So I guess if you want to find out the answer to that one, you'll have to come back next week for Carnage of Krell. And in the meantime, you can find us on social media. The easiest way to do that would be, you've already been here before, so you probably know, or head on over to nothinnerds.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom. We have links to all of our social media stuff down there. As well as links to YouTube. Don't know if that's social media or not, but
it's a platform, I guess. Yeah.
Tell a friend about us. We'd appreciate it. Whatever, wherever you are consuming this content, hit that like button. Give us a rating. Thumbs up are always helpful. And I think we've been remiss for the past few weeks, but we do like to throw a couple of shouts out to a couple of friends of the shows. Yeah. Kevin Warren on Twitter, they call me K-Dub, is our graphic artist. Lindsay from Strange Fantasy Music at gmail.com is the one that put together our intro-outro music. And then an old friend of mine at Blue the Beard on Twitter is the one that put our website together. So shouts out to you guys. Thanks for that. And you got anything else for this week, buddy?
Nope, that's all. Until next week, I've been Lorenzo.
I've been Kevin.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.